Hello and welcome to episode 34 of the Movie Bros podcast. We are your hosts, Duncan and Hayden. I'm Duncan, he's Hayden.
Hello, welcome back.
If you have heard this before, well, welcome back. If you are new, welcome. If you are new, just kind of a quick summary of what this is. This is two older 20s, younger 30s brothers who pick a movie, watch that movie, and discuss it. We do these once a week. We cover everything from romance, comedy, action, thriller, horror, sci-fi, fantasy, historical epic, whatever you can think of. We've probably either watched it or talked about it or both.
And if you look through our episodes and see a movie that we haven't talked about but you would like to hear our opinions on, please let us know.
And this podcast, you might be listening to this on Spotify, but just to be aware, it is also available on Amazon as well as Apple. If that's where you listen to things, that's just an option for you. It's also on Instagram. That's where we post about what we're going to be talking about or what we have been watching, etc., etc. That is at the movie_bros. So you can say, I'd say check that out if you have a moment. And you can also shoot us a DM on there if you have questions or comments or anything like that. Otherwise, that's more or less of what this is. I figure we should just get into it. And we are watching I'd call this a dystopian sci-fi, for lack
I'm
of...
not sure if I would attach dystopian, but this is definitely science fiction, very obviously.
And so it's Oblivion with Tom Cruise. Hayden, why don't you give us some fast facts about Oblivion?
Well, again, this is Oblivion. This was released in 2013. This is directed by Joseph Kosinski, and we've previously talked about his movie Tron Legacy, and we will probably continue to reference that a little bit throughout this episode. This is written by Michael Ardent and Joseph Kosinski, who apparently this is based on a graphic novel that he made, and I had never heard of it, but he's also credited as a writer because of it. Music here is by M83, the electronic band. Their real names are Anthony Gonzalez and Joseph Trapanese, so that also shows up if you search it up on Spotify. Cinematography here is by Claudio Miranda, the same guy he worked with on Tron Legacy. He's back for this. The stars Tom Cruise, Morgan Freeman, Olga Kurylenko, and Andrea Riseborough. And that's kind of all I got.
Okay. If you don't recognize the director from Tron Legacy, he also did the more recent Top Gun Maverick.
Very
and
true.
he is, which again was a very big movie for the year it came out, which was like the first big
2
movie
years
after.
ago.
Well, yeah, but it was also like the first big movie after like the pandemic, where people were actually going to theaters again.
Oh, yeah. I mean, depending on the analyst that you ask, it literally saved Hollywood from collapsing.
Mm-hmm. Which I mean, I saw it several times. It was a lot of fun. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, yeah. I did actually recently finally sit down to watch it. It's very good.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm pretty. Again, I think I've referenced this several times, but I'll keep talking about it. There's a Formula One or F1 movie coming out, that same director, and they're using a lot of the same camera stuff for all the in cockpit, which I think is gonna be really cool.
I mean, and I'm not even into F1, but that sounds cool.
Yeah. So even if you know nothing about like high speed, like 200-mile-an-hour race cars around not a circle track, like it's got turns and shit with cameras, I think it's gonna be dope. That's gonna be, I believe, in June or July. Either way,
Something like
that is who the director is. So if
We're fans.
yes, we're fans, and we'll talk about it obviously once we get into it. But there's a couple of the bits where they are in his ship, which I thought mirrored a little bit of Top Gun and hopefully a little bit of F1.
I mean, there's even some Tron Legacy stuff that shows up here too.
For sure. I had that written down on a couple spots actually.
Well, last episode, Excalibur, we waited till the end for our ratings. Do we want to go the opposite and start with them?
So this is a very, very solid 4 out of 5. I don't know. I don't know really what is missing, but something is missing. If there's, it's like a cut and dry. Like there's nothing here you don't need. It's. I mean, we're gonna talk a lot about it throughout the next probably 15, 20 minutes. But like, I don't have a ton of negative things to say about it. But I don't know. It's just never been like, this is the movie.
Honestly,
For
this
me.
is a 5 out of 5 for me.
Okay, that's fine.
More or less because I literally cannot find a fault in the whole movie. I love the music. I love the way it looks. Tom Cruise is always fun as Tom Cruise. I think this is really, really good. And I think it is markedly better than Legacy.
I mean, I think they're
I mean,
different. I mean,
clearly different, but I think this one's a little
yes,
bit better.
but I still felt like it was kind.
You felt like
I
something was missing?
well, I felt like there wasn't as much of a impact. Both either like escapism, like I feel like Tron Legacy has a lot more escapism to it. Like you're just along for the ride, which that's why I really love that. And this has some of that, but not as much. And the story in this felt very cut and dry. Like beat for beat. Oh man, no way! Like the AI is the bad guy. The whole
I
oh
mean,
what?
sure, but I don't know if that's bad.
No, but
Like,
just I
I
don't.
think to me, this is more of an along for the ride movie than Tron is, in my
Oh,
opinion.
see, I don't agree with that at all.
And I find the story in this much more affecting than the one in Tron. I mean, yes, they are different and they have different emotional beats and whatnot, but I think this one works a little bit better.
I would say neither. I don't think either of them are really got that gut punchy. I don't know. To me, it still feels semi surface level, and that's why
I mean,
I
it
gave it.
is, but I think that there is so much going. I mean, this is a 2-hour movie and it clips right along. I don't know where you would add in more dialogue without slowing the movie down.
No, I'm not, and I'm not even. I don't know how to fix it. I don't think it. I don't know if it truly does need fixing. That's
All
just a
right.
gut opinion. That's all.
Well, I mean, that is fairly close to being similar thoughts here. 4.5 out of 5 and 5 out of 5. Clearly we
Oh,
enjoyed it.
I said solid 4, not 4.5.
Oh, okay. Well, I misheard.
Fuck off, Hayden. Jesus.
Okay, I'm sorry. But still, I mean, I don't know.
Oh no,
4
that's
out of
they're
5
still
and
good
5 out of 5
scores.
are still pretty
Yes.
close.
Yes. No, like again, 8 out of 10 is a very like 80 versus 100 is pretty fucking close to each other.
Sure.
Uh I don't know, do you want to just get into random thoughts that I scrawled down while we were watching or while we watched separately?
Sure.
Has Victoria done anything else?
Angela Riseborough, yes, but mostly dramatic stuff, and I'm not sure you would recognize her.
I don't maybe it's I both like that besides Tom Cruise it's really just them,
It is a fairly small cast.
but I do like that none of them are like the like crazy insanely hot supermodels. Like he's Tom Cruise, sure, but even like they're generally attractive, sure, but they're not like
I mean, Olga Kurylenko was literally a Russian model before she became an actress.
yeah, I understand. No, but like they didn't zhuzh her up a whole lot for this. I'm just saying like they weren't like that was not like the tone of the movie was not really about like their looks.
I did like that everyone is convincingly dirty throughout the whole thing. Like,
More or less, yeah.
I mean, granted, Olga is not going to get as dirty as Tom Cruise, but
Sure.
I think that she looks convincingly like she's living in a wasteland. So here's some things that Angela Riseborough has been in. Let's see if you recognize any of them.
Sorry, maybe just a side note, but like I'm sure it's. I mean, part of it is just her character. That's who she is. But I never really liked her. I understand that.
I don't
I
know.
under,
I mean,
I understand her reasonings for things,
yeah,
but just there's a. I mean, especially like when she tossed that plant over the side. I was like, oh, man, fuck this
that
chick.
makes me mad
Ugh.
every time.
Every time, dude. Every fucking time. I'm like, ugh,
Like, I get
Jesus.
it, but just come on, man. She's been in several episodes of Black Mirror. She was in Nocturnal Animals,
I've heard
which
mixed
is
things about
the
that.
I've heard it has several different rape scenes, and so I think I'm probably good on never watching it. That just sounds
Rough.
unpleasant. Yeah. She was in the not good movie Amsterdam with
Oh yeah,
Margot
which is
Robbie and a bunch of other like
such a pain because
there's
that cast
so
is
much
stacked.
right? Like there's so much talent in that movie and it's so boring.
Yeah, I heard only
Um
bad things about it, which is
yeah.
unfortunate because yeah, totally fucking stacked cast.
Mhm. She was in The Death of Stalin, which I think is very funny.
I haven't heard, haven't seen it, but I have heard that.
I mean, you might enjoy it. It's a lot of just historical jokes, things like that. She was in the show Doc Martin for several years.
Oh god, maybe that's why I'm having like fucking flashbacks.
The reboot of The Grudge from 2020, which I saw, and that was bad, unfortunately. And a movie called Possessor, which doesn't look good. I don't know. I mean, she's been in a lot of stuff, but none of it's like very high profile things.
I'm just curious because I don't know. I see this, I'm like, well, again, the cast is small, so if you got picked for this could have been a pretty big deal for you, kind of thing.
Probably so. Okay. So Joseph Kosinski also did Tron Legacy, as we've mentioned already. For this being his only second movie ever, this is really fucking good. The man is talented.
Is it? I was just looking at the page. Like, yeah,
I think so.
yeah. This was his second over thing. Oh, well,
Like
hold on. He did. Where did this go? So yeah, this was technically his second. Before he did Top Gun, he did some firefighting movie.
I saw that. I'm like, I don't know. That doesn't sound all that interesting to me.
Meh.
But either way,
Oh yeah, but I can definitely see, like we referenced it, like there's a little bit of Tron. Just like after this, when you go to Top Gun, there's a little bit of this in Top Gun. I the big thing for I think for him, because you even referenced this when we did Tron, is he used to be an architect, but his design is so very important.
I mean,
Both
granted,
the actual
all of
like,
Tron is
well,
designed, but like
yes,
even parts in
yes,
this,
no, that's what I'm saying. Like both the the house they live in, the ships, the bike, the guns, everything has a very
the
specific.
drones, every like
Yeah, yeah,
it's
everything has a very specific aesthetic.
like visually, I just fucking love this movie. It's fantastic.
Well, there's stark colors, but it's not so blaring like Tron. There's a certain amount of mutedness, even like the whites and the grays and the blacks, things like that.
I've actually come to appreciate this movie's color scheme more over the years because I remember seeing this in theaters and thinking like, "Wow, this is really fucking bleak," and didn't really
It
enjoy it.
is, it is,
But I've
but
I've come to enjoy that a lot, and I think there's a lot of nuance in all the gray and all the light blue and all the heavy
hmm
black, and then they'll throw in like a fire, and it'll be super, contrasted against everything. I think it is excellent visually, and also I love all the sound design in this, from all of the drone squeaks and squawks, and
hmm
like all of the engine noise, all of I mean, I can go on and on about all the things that are small that are good in this, I guess I would say.
maybe I'm looking through my notes. Maybe part of where I knocked it from a perfect movie down, and I don't think there's any way around this. I don't inherently want to say this is a knock against the movie, but there's yeah, basically the first I timed it. This was about 4.5 minutes of the movie.
Oh, where it's just a monologue?
Well, yeah, it's just the overload, not the overload, but the exposition basically catching you up to present day, which you definitely need, and I don't know if there's any other better way to get around that. But I've never really loved that in a movie where it's like, oh, we're just gonna basically tell you what's going on.
So I kind of agree, but I don't mind it because it is only like 5 minutes. I think a way you could have done it differently is like his like smart home that he lives in, like reads him off like a date marker and catches him up about what's happened, and maybe it's the anniversary of something, and they talk about history that way, but I don't
hmm
mind it too bad.
No, no, no. That's the thing. I was like, again, I don't. I think it does the job well, and it's pretty quick. I mean, 4.5, 5 minutes is fine, and I don't know if there's a more seamless way to get around it. But and I don't. If I was watching this for the first time, I don't think I'd even notice or care. But now that I
No.
feel like obviously we've seen this quite a number of times, that's something I actually noticed. That's all.
Sure. I absolutely adore the music in this. It is one of my favorite soundtracks pretty much ever.
No, it's very. There are parts of it that are very beautiful. Like there's. I think it's the very beginning. Well, I mean, they play it throughout. It's the theme when he's thinking back in his memory to the Empire State Building, the
Yes,
piano bit,
and that's some of my favorite stuff here is that this will switch back and forth between some pretty aggressive, like, electronic
synth stuff.
stuff,
Yeah.
and then switch that up and mix it in with just really, really pretty piano pieces. It is a really interesting mix and fun. I think this is actually the first, soundtrack I ever bought myself, like, physically. It's one of my oldest CDs that I have. Listen to it all the time. Also, the ending song that plays over the credits,
hmm
it fucking slaps. It's great.
Oh, there's. if I look at my like playlist, which has thousands of songs, and there are several of just and I didn't even like these songs all at the same time. They are just sprinkled in
Mhm.
throughout. That I think there's one called Jack's Dream, and there's
Yep.
also one called I think it's called just Sound Waves or something like that. Uh,
Star Waves, but
Star
yes.
Waves, yes,
It's the
fucking
one that that
bangers,
that
dude.
that plays when they're in the pool.
Hmm. Which, speaking of the pool, cool. Like how again, I think this is where they tip their hat a little bit to Tron. Is some of the
Oh,
lighting
yeah.
choices for that very cool. I do feel like every speaking of the pool scene, I I feel like there has to not has to be, but I feel like maybe it's written into his contract somewhere that Tom Cruise has to have some sort of at least
Implied romantic encounter.
yeah, either romantic or sexually charged scene of some sort where he at least has to take his shirt off. I feel like every single there when as soon as I could probably visually remember watching this for the first time where she gets up from the dinner table to go to the pool and he walks out there to meet her and he leans over the side and of course she's naked but he still glows and you can easily tell she's gonna pull him in, he's gonna be clothed, they're gonna do this whole scene, he's gonna take the shirt off. It's I don't know.
I
It's
mean,
fine. I don't it doesn't lend itself to the plot.
I actually think it does because when he's talking about, "Oh, I wanna show you something," and instead she deflects to say, "Oh, I can show you something," and it essentially distracts them with her naked body,
Yeah, fuck
which,
Victoria, dude.
I mean, I would like to, but,
Yeah.
are you saying you would say no?
I I don't want to
Okay.
I'm sure she's
Well, that's actually a discussion for later in the movie.
I'm sure she's a lovely gal. Yeah.
I'm sure she's a lovely gal. She's no Olga Kurylenko. Um,
Anyway,
anyway, I actually think that that scene helps show the beginnings of her character to where she doesn't want to know new things. She doesn't
oh
want
sure.
to, learn about what's actually going on. And she will, even if she's unconscious about it, try and distract him from doing the same thing. So I think for that, I don't think it's unnecessary as a scene.
Those are 100% valid points. Though that I can understand. I don't know. I always anytime there's
I
it's
mean, it
the
is
scene.
absolutely obvious it's going to happen, but I think it's okay it does.
Sure.
And I'm actually surprised it didn't happen in Tron Legacy. I mean, granted, it's Disney, but like they could have easily done that with Olivia Wilde.
Well, I even remember talking about that where I was like, "Oh, it's something that I actually really liked about it is they didn't focus on the romantic part of this at all."
Yeah, I mean, you could imply some of it, but
Well,
like,
no, but this movie is obviously different where the romance is obviously a big part of the actual story.
oh, yeah, I mean, it's a big part of the character's development all over the place. So,
Yeah, so there's no way around it. But the scene where he first touches down at I think it's Red Sox Stadium, I think.
it's a very nice scene.
A nice scene, yeah, and but that's where I was like, oh, say what you will about the guy, but I mean, Tom Cruise, he does know how to act. Like he is convincing in a lot of things he does.
Absolutely, and I think that I mean, the public might know him more for things like this or
And Mission
any of the
Impossible.
Mission Impossibles where
Yep.
I mean, yeah, he tends to lend more towards action heavy stuff these days. But if you watch movies like Eyes Wide Shut or Collateral, he can
Oh, Collateral's
absolutely
great.
act.
Yeah.
Go- I didn't know you would say Collateral is so fucking good.
It was surprising. Him and
Like
Jamie Foxx was very
super
surprising.
tense the whole he
Yes.
plays such a good villain. He should do it more.
Oh yeah. That's why when people were referencing, oh, he's gonna be like an evil bad guy version of Tony Stark, I was like, yeah, fucking do it, dude. He could be a great bad
That
guy.
would be great. Anyway, but yes, I agree that he can actually act, and it comes through a few times. Like when he's having his flashbacks with him and his
Wife.
spoilers or whatever, and his wife at the observatory, and like
Mm-hmm.
she's showing him his like
Oh,
he's
yeah, there's
doing a lot
subtle
of great
nuances.
face
Yes.
acting there.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I mean, I agree. He is pretty good in this.
Where was this filmed? Like, obviously, a lot of it is not real, but some of the landscapes, fucking
So,
stunning, dude.
lots of the landscape exteriors were shot in Iceland.
I definitely almost wrote that down. I was like, this looks like Iceland, but I don't want to inherently assume it's Iceland.
But actually, something along those lines, there is a lot here that it's done practically. I mean,
Well, even
sure.
Yes.
There's a lot of digital, and clearly they're not actually flying around in space, but
Sure, but I
they
even wrote,
built
like
a practical version of his ship. They
yes.
built the practical drones. Like there's a
Yes.
lot here that they just constructed for this, and I really appreciate that. I think it
Well,
helps.
at one point, I literally wrote right amount of CGI. Like, obviously, there's some stuff you have to use it for, but like, even if you, there's never a point where it's clearly like, oh, this is not Ant Man Quantumania. It's not like the entire thing is in front of a like 3D screen.
I hate that that's the benchmark these days, but it really is.
Oh, that movie was
God,
so
that
fucking
movie's
bad.
trash.
But yes, I noticed that pretty early on too. That was one of my first notes actually. Um, okay, okay, I found something that is a very clear problem.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Okay. So they go, this is towards the, this is just for logistics in the world that they live in.
Sure.
Okay, so let me set the scene. They're looking for a drone. The drone is
Mm-hmm.
on their radar that they have access to on all of their, probably their equipment, right? And the drone is
Yeah.
in this, it could be anywhere, miles and miles apart. And the faster they have access to like a ship that you could be overhead and see all kinds of things, which clearly probably has the same radar to find said drone. He's like, no, I'm going to take the bike for tracking down the drone. What the fuck are you doing, dude? It just it
Oh,
didn't.
no, no, no. There was a reason for that.
No, there wasn't.
Thought there was. Yeah, no, because they had a whole back and forth conversation about how, oh, I'm losing the signal or something. And I guess he could do that from the ship.
That's what I'm saying. Like he's got the little like radar screen on the top of his bike, sure. And again, the bike is cool. It's a fun little bit where he's like zipping through between two giant ships that are like out of the
Mhm.
water.
The big tanker ship scene is
Yeah, yeah,
cool.
yeah. It's cool. And eventually, oh, they steal his bike and they eventually give it back. Like the bike is semi important, quote unquote, to the story. But just
The bike is a plot point, but they could have explained why they needed to use it better.
exactly. Again, it's a dumb little nitpick, but I'm like, come on, guys.
You
As
know what? I'll
literally
actually
as
throw in another nitpick with the bike. I think his goggles are dorky.
dude, I pondered that. I questioned it because I was like, okay, it's Tom Cruise. He can do a lot of things.
For all like the super nice design in this, you gave him white swim goggles.
They were pretty. Yeah, I don't know.
I
That's
mean,
why I was like, oh, you
it is
just
a
didn't really
blip
need to
in
do
an
that.
otherwise perfect art direction movie, in my opinion.
I do like the poem that he read that they call
I
back
have
to.
that
That's a
written
fun
down.
little. That's a fun. I would I'd put that on something and on the wall. I like that.
I have it written down here that I wouldn't mind getting that as a tattoo someday. That's a fucking raw
Oh,
quote.
dude, that's a dope tattoo.
Like, and the quote we're talking about here is, "And how can a man die better than facing fearful odds in the temple of his fathers and the ashes of his gods?" Like, that's so cool.
Yeah, dude, I'd put that on my
And
thigh.
it
Fuck
doesn't
yeah.
mean anything personally to me. So I don't know if I would actually do it. And that's kind of my benchmark for ever getting a tattoo. But it's a fucking raw quote. I do like that on the soundtrack list, actually name a lot of the tracks after lines from that quote. They have "Temple of His Gods" is one of the quotes, as well as "Fearful Odds," things like that. I just, it was
Mm-hmm.
a nice little thing I noticed.
A little homage. That's nice. Speaking of you specifically,
Jeez.
the hideaway spot where he's like basically like a lake house, more or less.
Yeah, yeah.
I was like,
I
ah,
have it written
that's
down
good.
too.
That's Hayden. All right. Which I do get it. I 100% get it. And folks, if you're new and you don't know the references we're talking about, uh, we
Jesus.
have very we have very different end goals, retirement goals, whatever you want to talk. Just I'd say listen to the last probably
We have very
few
different ideal
episodes.
living situation goals.
Exactly. And not that I'm knocking this at all. It looks very tranquil.
Does it looks a little cold?
It does look like it could get cold. Yes.
There's not a whole lot in the way of walls, and that's kind of what I have written down, is that I would absolutely love to live in this cabin by the lake, but also it is
It's
kind
not a
of just a
cabin.
tarp.
Yes.
It's kind of just a tarp, and he was still working on it. But yes, I would like to live in that kind of a situation. So why is this called Oblivion? I've never like, the name doesn't really have anything to do with the, like, yeah, it's marketable, but
It
I've always
is.
been confused why it's called Oblivion. Like, it doesn't reference anything that happens in the plot. Like, there's not like an Oblivion
No,
protocol or something
no. Not that
it's
it has
easily
to have like,
marketable.
not that they have to like say the
Sure.
name of the title in the movie or anything like that. But yes, I agree. It doesn't have anything to do with anything.
Yeah, I just kind of a thought I had. It's like, wait, why is it called that? It doesn't like pertain to
No,
anything.
no. Which again, it's a very minor nitpick for
Yeah.
yeah, it's fine. That's something again I probably wouldn't generally give thought to, but since we're
I
talking
mean,
about it in depth,
I guess I wouldn't either. Is more of just, if I have to find a problem with this, what is there?
sure. I do like when they are watching him from afar, the quote unquote scavs, their helmets. They're just cooler Star Wars helmets.
I I kind of had that thought. Like, they kind of just look like they're wearing like stormtrooper stuff, spray painted black.
But what made me think of is, oh man, because that's like not knockoff, but like other version of Star Wars, which Rebel Moon was supposed to be another version of Star Wars. What if
Oof.
no, but if the director of this did his version, I think would be pretty fucking like he's someone who could probably do it.
I have the
Just say,
exact same thing written down.
but I don't know. I
Literally,
feel like
I have the exact same thing written down. Let's see, where did I put it?
well, because he
Um,
knows how to do aerial battle stuff with Top Gun. He knows how to do pod racing stuff because of F1. He knows how to do like lights and design from Tron.
okay. Having just watched this as well as starting Skeleton Crew, I think Kaczynski could make a hell of a Star Wars project, especially
Yeah,
if you surround it by like, you know, kind of like specialized class of stormtrooper where he could design something interesting.
yeah, just yeah. I feel like it makes sense, which I feel like that's what Rebel Moon should have been. But
I mean,
oh well.
Rebel Moon should have been scrapped, but it is what it
Eh.
is.
I do like so there when they go to retrieve the black box, basically the flight recorder from her
Hmm.
crashed ship, the wife, and the scavs are basically rising up out of the ground. There's a music shift. I don't know.
Hmm.
Honestly, I can't even remember which song it was, but it just oof,
It's
oof.
just called Crash. Yeah, Crash Site.
Yeah, that's a nice, like a cool little, almost not zombie like, but it felt
Kind of,
the
yeah.
right. It felt like the right amount of ominous. And then just dude,
Hmm.
motherfucking Morgan Freeman. Ah,
Just fucking showing up. Yeah.
well, just I don't know. Like again, very small cast, but I think you picked more or less the right people. Like you probably could have exchanged the wife and Victoria for other people and had probably a marginally similar experience, but obviously Tom Cruise and obviously Morgan Freeman.
I think ironically, you could probably switch out Victoria with Natalie Portman and get a very similar kind of
Yeah,
performance.
yeah, you probably could, to be honest. And I would have probably preferred that, but that's fine.
And if you cast this today, you could have the wife be Anna de Armas.
Yes. Yeah, again, that's what I'm saying. Like, obviously, the main people that it's clear that it needs to be them is Tom Cruise and Morgan Freeman.
I mean, no one has the narration voice of Freeman. It's literally his bread and butter, but it is true.
Well, it's not just his voice. I mean, even just the I don't know. There's something else. He does have something else to him.
I mean,
Uh,
absolutely, but like, when they're doing their interrogation thing and he's sitting smoking his cigar, which again, that's very cool, and it's just lighting up his face with the end of the cigar.
hmm
And he's giving a
That
bit
was
of a
my next note.
monologue.
Was oh, dude, the cigar lighting.
I mean, there's lots of great lighting in this, especially in the scene where he initially gets tricked by them and he goes into that like sinkhole, which
hmm
turns out to be a
Yes. Oh
library.
yeah, that was cool.
One, that's a fucking cool set, but also the lighting in that is pretty much lit only by light coming through the hole in the roof and
The little
Jack's
fires. Yeah.
um
Or his gun or his light.
yeah,
Yes.
and his little flashlight gun. It looks great.
But what I will say on the other side of this, because again, I love those characters, I feel like they super underused slash again could have put anyone in this movie as the Jamie what's his name? The guy from Game of Thrones.
Oh, I wrote his name down for casting and then forgot about it. Yes. Well, I feel like, this was like what? This was 2013. Game of Thrones was at its peak then at that point. That kind
hmm
of makes sense why he'd show up.
Well, sure, it just I don't know, it feels because I like him as an actor. Of the Game of Thrones that I've seen, I do like him as an actor, and it just feels like
Mhm.
I again like the badass soldier dude could have been anyone.
Pretty much. I mean, they could have given that to Jason Statham and it still would have worked fine.
Oh, dude, they could have given that to
Or Gerard Butler.
a number of people. Could have done that.
He doesn't have that many lines,
A doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't have a ton of like character development or lines or
which is,
he's a fair,
it's
which is fine. The movie is not about him.
so some of the visual stuff I liked in this, there's a slow shot where the drone that the evil
Hmm.
pyramid in the sky has turned on from the basement. It pushes its way through some burning curtains.
Oh yeah, I know
Oh,
exactly what you're talking
it's
about.
so fucking cool looking.
It's very good.
I mean, a lot of camera movement in this that is pretty fast because there's bit more chase scenes and action in this one. But when they slow down and do some still,
Hmm.
almost still photography, there's really nice framing in this.
Oh yeah. Uh, the I love that the hint. It's enough for you to notice, but it's not like black and white change when the Tet uh enemy, obviously, their voice at the end when they're talking to him has like a more robotic tone to it. Only when they're talking to Jack, just enough.
It's starting to like break and warble a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I also really like that um it kind of had a callback to Hal from 2001 because the big,
Mm-hmm.
like it, at the very center, it essentially is just has a big red Hal eyeball, which I mean probably intentional.
Well, sure, but uh, I don't know. I thought that was a little weak for design choice, actually.
I kind of agree. Like, I mean, entire ship to just be this,
Pyramid
essentially a
and then a
big
smaller
pyramid thing.
pyramid on the inside. Yeah, fucking
I
dumb.
get the whole like nesting doll idea, like that.
Sure,
That's not a
that's
bad
fine.
choice, but do something a little bit more interesting because you can see like it kind of like ripples and stuff. Like it can clearly change its shape. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I know.
Again,
I definitely agree.
that's a super small complaint.
The shot where he's basically on in a Mexican standoff with himself was nice.
Another super nice pullback, but yeah, I again I had that written down as well. I like how I mean, subtly told the difference between those two characters,
It was enough to
even
like,
though they're
yeah.
like the same person. Like all of Bandana Jack has like
Hmm.
white accent, or sorry, has like yellow accents all over his suit, whereas our Jack has like dark blue ones. And they also carry that over into Bandana Jack's like home base thing because they have yellow couches instead of the blue ones that we're used to seeing. I thought it was a nice subtle nod to showing that there really is 52 of these all over the world.
Uh-huh. Oh, at least. Yes.
Yes,
I don't see how the resistance stayed alive as long as it did
I
because
did
when
question
the
where they were getting food.
well, not just even get I mean sure getting food, yeah. But like when one drone gets into their when it all goes to shit right before they actually send off towards the end, and there's this one drone just absolutely fucking up the hideout, like just vaporizing
Yes.
the shit out of everyone. I'm like, dude, and of course Jack just happens to be the one who knows to shoot this exact little point on the back of it, so it goes haywire. Sure,
Well,
but I'm
actually,
like,
no.
okay,
I think that was the Game of Thrones guy.
no, 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 no. Oh no, you're
Might be a
thinking of
different
a
scene then.
different scene, different scene. So there's one outside where the Game of Thrones guy gets him, but that was earlier in the movie, and then they come back to the hideout when he's like, "Oh, I'm actually with you guys because you're right, this isn't real." That's when the drone comes back
Oh,
and
very true,
fucks up,
very true.
and that's when his wife gets shot again or
She
goes
she did
into
have some bad luck, yes.
yes, which I get why she's there. She's kind of a catalyst for all the things that are happening. Like she's the thing that
Mhm.
makes all the things happen to begin with, but otherwise she didn't do a ton.
She has about the same amount of lines as Game of Thrones guy. She is, as much as I hate to say it, she is kind of just a hot lamp.
But I mean, again, her character needs to be there for things to happen.
Sure,
But
I guess, if I could find complaints with the script, I'm like, give her maybe more to do because she waited a super long time to try and explain anything.
yeah, like maybe, yeah. I get that it's Tom Cruise movie, but it could be Tom Cruise and his sort of dead wife.
Do you know where you recognize her from?
No, not at all.
She was a Bond girl,
And which one?
Quantum of Solace.
Are you sure that was her?
So, no one's favorite, but yes.
It was okay. It was not good. Let's
When I
see.
think of the Craig Bonds, pretty much all of them are better than that one. It's not bad
Yes.
though.
Oh, I agree. It's not bad, but it's the worst of the bunch.
Yes, I'm almost positive.
No, yeah, it is her. She was also in Seven Psychopaths and Black
I could
Widow.
rewatch that. Well,
Hmm.
right, yeah, because she played Taskmaster.
Oh yeah, okay.
Speaking of when that drone gets into, like, I
The
guess the
Hideout.
rebel base, if we're using Star Wars terms, and absolutely starts, vaporizing people, I think that's a
Hmm.
really smart idea to keep this from being what I would assume to be maybe a rated R movie. Because if you just have them kind of like explode into charcoal and not
Sure.
show any
No, I
blood,
agree.
you get away with, I mean, because they are killing people on camera, and instead of having blood or anything like that, they kind of just turn into rocks and charcoal, which I think is absolutely both works as a narrative way because the robots need all the water because they run warm, but like I think it's also a smart idea to do that for a general audience score instead of restricting your box office.
Well, I think that's why again you see the roots of Tron where they just changed people into cubes and things like that. So
Yep, similar idea.
they are not again these. This is a team that they have been set up through like 4 or 5 movies now. That he is prime ready for Star Wars. I'm just saying. Like,
Again, give him like special forces stormtrooper stuff. Have him like hunting down Jedi or something. That would be so
yeah,
cool.
yeah, something. It doesn't have to be like the main thing, but have him at least give him a show or so. I feel like it could do something.
I mean, if anything, I think Disney Star Wars is at its best when it is avoiding Skywalker plot lines.
Well, just because that fandom is so devoted.
Well, I mean, it is I mean, it's literally classified as a world religion. Yes,
And yeah, obviously you're never gonna be able to please everyone.
but they really tried to please no one at the fucking end there.
By the end of it, yes.
Um, I really like the idea that in the midst of this movie's portrayal of humanity dying out, I like that they thought to save great works of art. I don't know if that would happen in real life, but I like that idea that's shown here. I think it's nice.
I think it's a easy, clear way to hint like, oh, we still have humanity in us, and that's why they both
Sure.
put it up at the rebel base as well as the home. Sure, I get it.
Yeah. Another, great line, quote, whatever you want to say, that might be good for a tattoo is the line, "I am undimmed by time and unbound by death."
That sounds a
It's
little
like
morbid.
his. Well, no, it's his last like journal entry to his wife before the other
Mm-hmm.
him shows.
Yes.
Like I don't know, I think that's also a good line.
No, it's a good line, but no, I would want
It is
something.
a little bit more morbid, yes.
I have thought about maybe Ad Astra per Aspera or just Ad
Yeah,
Astra. I mean, the Temple of the Gods one is good. I do like that.
it's
I
a
don't
little
know. There's
long, but it is good.
yeah, small font, small font. It's only for
Or
forever, right?
huge
Yeah.
font and huge font and it covers your entire back.
I mean,
Can
big
be like
back
that one
peep,
guy in the shitty Suicide Squad movie.
or are you thinking Tom Hardy in Fury Road towards the beginning when he gets tattooed?
Oh yeah, kinda.
That was on my works TV the other day. I was watching that for a little while. It's good, very good. That's more or less everything I have for Oblivion. Anything
Yeah,
else you got?
I mean, other than this is one of my favorite science fiction movies.
Oh, it's definitely up there for mine. Yeah.
I will I will often recommend it to people when they ask for something that's not Star Wars or Star Trek. I'm like, okay, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
fine. Try Oblivion, try Moon,
Oh,
try
Moon's very good.
Interstellar. Actually, Moon is kind of a similar vibe to this, just a lot less action
Yeah, I
and a
would say
lot
yes.
sadder
I would
acting.
agree. I would also agree. I think of like when you think of non Star Wars sci-fi, I think Interstellar's pretty much everyone's for.
In
Like that's the first
it
one
also might
most
be
people
my
think
favorite
of.
movie ever. Like it's hard
It's
to
up
beat
there.
Interstellar.
I don't know. It's that.
Might be a
That
discussion for a different time.
potentially just so I like that there are alternatives. Obviously, Moon is a little bit slower, sadder. You have Oblivion. You've got other options out there, which I do like. Because it's either Star Wars or Interstellar, and there's nothing else. No, there's other things.
Yeah.
So again, that was Oblivion. This is, I believe, it's technically still on Netflix, even though I know it's leaving Netflix soon.
It is on Netflix. It is leaving the 28th of February. So by the time this comes out, you will have a week and a half to watch it.
So hop on that shit because it's good.
It's very good. We both clearly enjoy it.
From there, we're gonna do a little bit of icebreaker audio, and this is where we pick a random kind of icebreaker question that you might hear if you've started a new job or are going to a new school, something like that. And both Hayden and I answer it. The reason we started doing this is we wanted to make sure you find folks who are listening to this realize that we are not just voices in your ear, we're also human beings, and kind of understand how we come to the opinions we have about movies. Maybe you'll understand that more if you understand us more. So that's why this is a section or a chapter or a segment.
All right. And today's icebreaker audio question is, what makes you feel old when you think about it?
Well, there's an easy answer, which is when people come in and show me their ID to show that they're at least 21 and up to drink, and I'm like, oh, you were born in 2004, you're not old enough. And
I
then you realize,
fucking hate
oh,
that.
someone who was born in 2004 is at least 21. That's fucking crazy. So that's the easy answer. Besides that, there's a lot of slang and lingo that these Gen Zers are saying that I have no fucking idea what they're talking about.
We're hip with the kids, yo.
Yeah, hello, fellow. What's the one that Steve
How do you do,
Buscemi
fellow
does?
kids?
Yes. um,
I think like the main ones for me is that being born in 92 and I guess becoming, you know, self-aware to where I can remember it, at least the year 2000.
sure.
Um I have lived through so much quick technological advancement.
Jumps. Yeah.
Like I lived through the era at the very tail end of VHS, then Blu-ray, then or sorry, VHS, then DVD, then Blu-ray, then streaming. I lived
Mm-hmm.
through MySpace, the
Yep.
launch of Facebook, MP3 players when iPods were a thing. I remember when iPods were a thing because I remember I had mine stolen out of my backpack in high school. Like I, it is
Oh yeah. I mean,
it is
I'm
crazy for me to think about. I've seen the rise of Bluetooth. There are people alive today who don't know a time when the internet was not constantly in their pocket. And
sure.
granted, for a lot of my adult life, it has also been that way, but it makes me feel kind of ancient to remember a time when, the concept of a computer room where it was such a
Sure.
huge thing to own a personal computer that you devoted an entire living room space to housing this thing that was like the size of a small car.
Well, I have very vivid memories of like opening Windows XP in our
Oh,
family room to
yep.
play like very specific CD computer games.
I remember the pinball game
Oh,
like it was
that's
fucking yesterday.
that pinball game. I feel like everyone knows. Some of the other ones, like more like Backyard Baseball 2003 or whatever, or Pit Droids. Pit Droids was big, which
Pit
was like
Droids was a
the
lot of
puzzle
fun.
game for Star Wars Episode One. So again, that would have been
Kind
early
of like
2000s.
it in a lot of ways, Pit Droids paved the way for Portal because it is a very similar kind of game. Portal just
Oh
made
yeah,
it more three dimensional.
sure, yeah, you're just solving puzzles, yeah. Uh, but yes, there's a lot. I mean, I remember like the first bit of getting on Facebook and like uh sending it going from a flip phone to a phone that slides on
Oh
the
hell yeah,
side to
yes.
going to the first like touch screen
I
smartphone was
remember.
wild.
I remember for like a short time, BlackBerry was the coolest thing on
Oh
earth.
sure,
Like the iPhone wasn't yet a thing, and like, oh, it was so cool that you could slide open and have an entire keyboard that you would have to use, freaking toothpicks to type with.
well, see, the big one for me was the Sidekick, the one that like flipped up and around with a little. It literally had like
I
a
do remember
trackball
that.
on it. Oh, fucking. I remember saving up money. I think I was a sophomore in high school when I bought that for myself. I was like, oh, I'm showing everyone this.
I remember my iPod Nano and thinking, "Oh wow, this thing is like the size of a postcard. This will be the peak of technology. It'll never get more advanced." And then Spotify came and just kind of destroyed it. But it just that's kind of insane.
It's pretty wild. Even world. I mean, if you think about world events like, uh,
Yeah, I lived through 9/11. I don't really have a whole lot of memory of it.
see, it's weird. You're older than me, but I have a distinct memory of this. Like, I remember
Really?
I would have been like 5. That was 2001, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would have been like 5. I had AM kindergarten. I came home. I was having my little lunch tray that folded out. So it was one of those like pre-molded ones where you can put things in different places on the tray. I
Sure.
had my sandwich cut into triangles. I had my apple slices. I had my Cheez-Its. I had put
Sandwiches
on
taste better when they're cut into shapes. It's just facts.
absolute dude. It's fucking true.
Also, sandwiches and Cheez-Its slap today.
Oh, it's so fucking good. Um, but I remember like mom being at home and turning off Scooby Doo and putting on the news. I was like, what the fuck is happening? Uh,
See, I
yeah,
must have
distinct
been
memory.
at school because
Oh,
if
you
you
must have been.
were
Yeah,
five,
you would have been 9. Yeah, you would have been in school.
so I'm sure teachers wouldn't have told us about. Well, actually, I don't know. I
Yeah,
mean,
maybe.
it is odd that you have a memory of that and I don't.
But I
But
think of
I don't know.
I mean, every generation has been around for some pretty wild stuff, but we've already had like we've had 9/11, we've had the stock market crash, we've had a global pandemic. Like
Yeah, I
uh
mean, yeah.
just
I mean, but I guess specifically,
multiple wars. Like it's been fucking wild, dude.
yeah. I mean,
But
back to the question of what makes you feel old, though.
um
I'm really trying to steer us away from 9/11. I don't want to talk about politics.
oh, that's fair. That's 100% fair. I'm fine with that. It was an inside job. It's fine.
No,
We
no,
can
no,
talk about
no,
that some
no,
other
no.
time.
We're not going to talk about jet fuel and steel beams.
Doesn't melt steel beams.
And Building 7 fell just like that. It's fine.
Okay, all right. What else makes me feel old? I don't know how morbid you want to get here, but
If it's too morbid, we'll cut it out in the edit.
maybe very specific to me and me only. But like for the longest time, I was the like, and this is a inside a very small specific bubble. Just prefacing that, I started teaching diving at a pretty young age for like my peer group, and now I am no longer like the young guy teaching diving.
Hmm.
Which I mean, that happens with time. It feels kind of like I'll go to the beach for just like a fun dive with some friends, and there'll be instructors there who are like 20. I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, I don't want to say like the old dog because I'm like, no, I'm not. But like, it does make me feel slightly older. Like, oh, I was teaching before you were even certified. That kind of thing is kind of wild. Well, like this would have been about a year ago at this point. I went to one of my buddy's younger brother's birthday party. This
Hmm.
is and he's only I think he's 2 years younger, 3 years younger than me. Uh, and this was a large house party. The place was packed. Like wall to wall people of all. I mean, he works at I will say is a restaurant. That way, I don't give away whatever his personal information. But so there are people from like who are old enough to be a host, and then old enough to like either way. So this young gal starts chatting to me and my friend, and at some point in the conversation, she was like, "Oh, how old are you guys?" And my friend's like, "Oh, I'm 24." I was like, "Oh, I'm 27. This is last year." And then she's like, "Oh, I'm 18." I'm like, "Oh, I need to leave."
Oh, I need to go now.
Oh, dude, I literally was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
I'm uncomfortable. Like, this is just a weird dynamic. I don't like
Like,
this."
I mean, I recently got rid of my dating profiles because it was making me depressed. But um, I had to change my like age slider from like, you know what? I don't know if I feel comfortable dating someone under like 25.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
it,
there are
it,
very
I
specific.
am 32. That is close enough to being 10 years old. Like, also,
Yes.
what would I have in common with you?
Well,
Like,
that's the thing. Like, there is obviously, I mean, everyone's going to feel differently about this. And whether you are with someone, without someone, dating, not dating, on the apps, off the apps, out in the world or not, I feel like everyone has like a specific like bracket that they kind of stay
oh yeah,
to. And obviously, some people are more comfortable than others, but I'm like, oh, I would not go
like, yes,
much.
could I
I would,
legally date an
ugh,
18-year-old? Would I
ugh,
feel gross afterwards?
ugh.
Absolutely. Ugh, vom.
Either way, just that was one of those moments where I was like, "Oh, I feel old." Like, obviously, there was a group there of like me and my friends, and then there was the brother whose birthday it was and his friends, and then this was like the very bottom of that age bracket. And I literally, I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm gonna grab my dog and get the fuck out of here." So,
Another time at work, I think this was a couple months ago when they were re-showing Lord of the Rings in theaters.
oh yeah,
I had mentioned I was doing that because they were saying, oh, what are you doing on your weekend? I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go watch Return of the King in theaters. And this little 24-year-old asshole, he's not an asshole, but it just pissed me off. He's like, oh, what, those old movies? I'm like, I I remember seeing those in theaters. You weren't even born yet, man. Come on.
yeah. I mean, I don't remember seeing them in theaters to be honest, but
It's a very early memory for me, but I remember being like, just I mean, still to this day amazed by some of the stuff in Two Towers, in seeing that in theaters.
I should also preface maybe this because I don't want to sound like too much of a curmudgeonly old man, but
No,
uh
no, we can do that.
well, just hold on. I would say between the ages of like 18 to even now, like I'm 28. Uh, if I look backwards, there has been such a huge amount of change in both like my own priorities, friend groups,
Oh
my
yeah,
my
100%.
physicality, like living situations. I have a dog now. My son Freddie. Uh, there's there's so much life that's going to happen, and so much different. Like, yeah, that 24-year-old asshole. Yeah, because he's a 24-year-old. He's gonna. I don't know. He's just not. He doesn't
Yeah,
understand. And even that's why I think even just the dating thing. Like, oh, if you don't like, so much is going to change for people, and that's why obviously it may not work out where it's going to be the exact same age for everything. And even if
sure. I
you are the
mean,
same age, people are going to be in different points of their life. But it just there's so much that can change in such a short amount of time. That's why, yeah, well, I might feel old, but like that's
I
me
feel old, but
old
that's
compared
okay.
to it's okay, but it's me compared to just my younger self. Which, if you ask me again in another 10 years, yeah, I'm gonna obviously say the same thing for the previous 10 years, probably. So it's all relative.
Yeah, yeah. It's like I remember being alive to watch Revenge of the Sith in theaters. Like it's kind of nuts.
Yeah, I think I remember. I think I remember The Dark Knight. I think I remember like the first Transformers. Those were like
Oh, first
2008.
Transformers might be
Oh
off
yeah,
topic. That movie fucking slaps today. Like that,
dude, people
the first
sleep on it.
Transformers is really like. I mean, I think because all the other ones are kind of garbage. Like, and they get
Well,
worse as
to a
they
certain
go
degree,
on.
yes, yes.
But
I
like that
like number
first one,
three's pretty fun. Two is
incredibly
kind of
solid.
meh. Oh yeah, first one's incredibly like for when it came out. Because again, I believe that was 2008. Uh,
Something like that. Yeah,
just yeah,
I remember that the car models at the time were so advanced they literally had to bring in the computers from NASA to help render some of them
hmm,
because ILM couldn't do it.
interesting. Well, good for Michael Bay. All right.
And I would also like to say Michael Bay gets a bad rap. Is he
Well,
ever going to,
he
create an Oppenheimer? Is he ever going to, create a 12 Angry Men? Maybe not. But things
he
like Armageddon are a lot of fun.
uh, I don't know.
Things like
I
Transformers
recently
is, well, I'm not saying it's a smart movie. I'm saying they're fun.
yes, they oh no, they definitely are fun. I think he makes a fun movie for sure. There's no doubt about that at all.
I think he's good at making one kind of movie, kind of like a
That's
Ryan
fine.
Reynolds,
Well,
and that's
there's a
okay.
lot of directors that are not that multi-faced. Like they're all doing kind of their niche thing. Like
Yeah.
Obviously, like Robert Eggers knows how to make a very clearly a Robert Eggers movie. He is not going to make a Michael Bay movie.
And with that, we're gonna sign off
Mm-hmm.
on
Icebreaker Audio.
uh Oshberg Audio, and we're gonna move into what have we watched recently and what are we looking forward to. Um
Uh,
so as you just mentioned with Roger Eggers, is it Robert or Roger?
Robert. Wait, no. Fuck. Now you're making me think about it. Hold on. Robert. Excuse me.
So as you just mentioned with Robert Eggers, did you recently watch something, Duncan?
Well, I've watched a few things recently. I think trying to think of what was the last thing that you heard. Oh, yeah, I think it was. Yeah. Okay. So I have watched 4 movies since we last talked. I
Okay.
started with Nosferatu. This is
What did you
the
think?
2020. I didn't love it. I didn't absolutely hate it. I would say, you can hear a little bit more of my in-depth analysis on this on my own separate podcast, Dunk's Movie Corner. But uh, I can see visually, it's stunning. Music, it's stunning. The lighting choices, the whole people were complaining where it wasn't lit enough because if he was using
I
candlelight.
think
I
it depends on what theater you see it in.
maybe, but I was like, no, this looks fucking phenomenal, dude.
Yeah, because
Uh,
I thought the same thing.
I feel like the story I've heard that kind of story like 100 times. I don't know. It didn't feel it was not that interesting. And I like Bill Skarsgård as being just good old Bill Skarsgård doing his monster thing. Uh, but yeah, he didn't feel enough he didn't feel vampiric
Yeah,
enough
so
for me.
that's kind of what I thought too. That's why I was interested to hear your opinion. Like, it's clearly well made.
Oh
It's
yes,
clearly
100%.
beautifully shot, but like, it's not scary.
Nah, I would. Yeah, there was definitely like uneasy, like it's moody,
Like, you
it's
can tell it's
creepy, but
gothic and
I
everything,
would
but like,
not I would not call
yeah.
it a horror scary movie. I wouldn't.
Well, I mean, that's kind of why I find it hard to classify. Like, is it a horror movie? Is it just a tense drama? I mean, there's clearly an undead guy, so something is going on.
Lily, whatever the main chick, the Depp daughter.
Rose Depp, yes.
Thank you. She was great.
Right? She
I
acts unhinged the whole time.
well no, but just like the right amount. I liked it.
Yeah.
Um, although the first like little bit where she immediately starts getting like seduced by him and like is going through
Well,
some pleasurable
that's
moments.
that's the whole movie, man.
Well, no, that's what I literally wrote this movie as like the ultimate thirst just for her. Um, I watched this at my work on during off hours because I have keys. I can just let myself in and watch stuff.
Yep.
Um, but I invited some I was like, hey, coworkers, if anyone wants to come watch this, we're gonna
Oh,
watch
that's a
this.
mistake.
So me and this dude are literally sitting like 3 seats apart. It's just me and him. We're watching Nosferatu, and like that is like one of the first scenes, and we just look at each other and we start laughing. We're like, dude, what the fuck are we watching right now? And then
Yeah, she
just
gets
the
off on dead
movie keeps
guys.
going. Yes, I will say, Aaron Taylor or what's it? Aaron Taylor Johnson or Anya? No, what's his
Well,
fucking?
so Aaron Taylor Johnson plays her husband's friend, and she stays at
Yes,
his house for a while.
yes. His mustache is fantastic.
I'm so envious of a mustache like that.
But see,
God, I
that's a
hate my
good
facial hair.
That's a. I trimmed my mustache too short, and it looks really not good right now.
Me and you have got different genes, unfortunately.
We do, but like I tinker way too much. Anyway, um, Nicholas Holt again. I feel like he is consistently slept on. I
He's
think he's a very
consistently
good
very
actor.
good. Yeah.
He's been in tons of stuff, and he's again. I don't think he's ever really been like the guy, but he's a fantastic character
I mean,
actor.
I think he's close to being the guy in this. Like, he's
He's
really good at
close.
this.
Well, he is, but
I mean, he's not the main character, but he is
no.
he is the main male character for all intents and
Yes.
purposes.
Um, William Defoe just always being fucking William Defoe. Well, there was okay because he's so very much over the top as just him. There's a
Mhm.
couple moments which I think detracted from the movie because they're obviously supposed to be like, oh man, this is foreboding, this is building, and because it's William Defoe delivering it, I couldn't not laugh.
Is this the crawl back into your mother's womb line?
Probably, dude. There's several points.
Yeah.
So for reference, I've only seen 3 of the of his movies, Robert Eggers. I've seen Nosferatu, The Lighthouse, and Northman, and this is probably number 3 of 3 for me. I think Lighthouse is 2, and I think Northman is 1, because I think Northman is a more complete story. It's it's the right amount of like gritty world, but also I don't know. It feels like more overarching actual story of revenge. It's interesting. It's like the story is actually captivating. Lighthouse is way too fucking weird to hit that note, but it's very fun. It's way more. I think it's artistic, whereas Northman is less artistic.
I've seen all of those as well, and but I've also seen his first one called The Witch.
Which yeah, correct. I haven't seen that one.
I own it. I think it's great. It is definitely the scariest of them, so
Hmm.
you may not enjoy it.
I
And for
probably
that,
will
I
not.
think I think The Witch is technically his best because it is the one that lands the best for the genre it's in. And then I think I'd go Lighthouse just because I love the black and white. You get to see William Defoe acting like an insane person, and Robert Pattinson's pretty good in that too. And then I'd go probably tie Northman with Nosferatu.
Hmm.
I think they're both visually really good, but both of those stories aren't as gripping as I want them to be.
I think I just love
Well,
seeing Alexander Skarsgård as a fucking like giant with like the metal bars around his biceps with 2 bloody axes, like just going absolutely ham on people.
I did think it's funny in that movie
Fucking
where they're trying
awesome.
to interview, like, oh, who could have killed these servants in the night? Is it peasant number one?
Or this
Peasant number two?
giant.
The absolute, muscle bound, freak of nature?
Hmm.
Who could it be?
Either way, so that was Nosferatu, and then
All
I
right.
watched Saturday Night, the one that came out this last year about the opening night of Saturday Night Live.
I'm almost interested in that, but I don't. I feel like I would have to, be a Saturday Night Live obsessive to really get the full
Well, see,
experience from that.
that was why my caveat. So I actually the the pacing, the music, the acting, everything is actually really really good, and it's quick. So basically every minute of
Well,
screen
isn't it
time is a
in real time?
exactly, and they show you the timing. It's the movie's really well done. I would say I would give it like a 3.5 out of 5. I would give it more if I was from that generation that understood that,
I was gonna say,
because
is that a
there are
Jason Reitman thing?
yes it is. Which he did Juno, he did Ghostbusters Afterlife, he did Up in the Air, Thank You for
Yeah,
Smoking, stuff like
I
that.
mean, usually he's pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. I very much again. I'd say I enjoyed
Ghostbusters
it.
Frozen Empire notwithstanding.
He didn't do that one.
Did he not?
No, he did Afterlife, the good one, and then someone else did Frozen Empire.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
And then obviously I watched Oblivion, and then I quote unquote ended my week about an hour ago or whatever before this. So I've started the series of Monsters, the Lyle and Eric Menendez
I've heard of
story.
it.
So I'm watching one episode at a time because each episode is basically an hour.
Yeah, yeah.
It's good. It's pretty. They pretty much drop you like, oh, we're gonna tell you what the fuck happened immediately, and then
I'm
the rest
I'm
of the.
surprised you would choose to watch this. It doesn't seem like something that I would assume would be in your wheelhouse.
I mean, I watched the Dahmer one. I've seen
Oh, really?
I watched the one with where what's it called? Zach Efron is Ted Bundy.
Yeah.
No, I've seen, I like.
Okay.
Or actually,
I
if you
didn't know you
ever,
enjoyed those.
well, this one again is a lot of them. I like when they do a lot more of just the courtroom stuff. It can be really interesting.
Sure.
Which, if you never saw it, the People versus O.J. Simpson, like the dramatization with
Heard very good things
it
about it.
was really good. Like
Cool.
all the actual real life fact stuff aside, which apparently they basically keep this exactly what happened. It's really really good, dude. I would highly recommend checking that out.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what I've started watching that, and otherwise that's what I watched. You?
Well, I haven't been watching a ton of movies. I recently, I mean, I've been binge watching some X Files because it's my favorite TV show. But other than Oblivion this week, I haven't actually had time to rewatch anything.
I will say I also today because, uh, well, granted I don't usually work on Wednesdays anyway, This is, of course, if you're new, folks, we record on Wednesdays, edit, and usually post on Sundays. So this is Wednesday. Um, I don't usually work on Wednesdays. One of my friends got the day off from work. So they came over. We grabbed a bunch of snacks, went to the dog park, and then came back and watched When Harry Met Sally. Because, spoiler alert, but in like
A week.
a week, yeah, roughly, we are doing a 2 movie special feature for Valentine's Day where we're going to talk about When Harry Met Sally and Pride and Prejudice, 2 of our more or less favorite romantic movies. So I watched and took
I
notes on
like
that.
our split there because I intentionally wanted to choose like classical romance because you chose
It's
a
a little
more
more
modern one.
yeah, it's more contemporary.
So I like that we have the two contrasting.
Fair. Okay, yeah. Just and I guess that's like a heads up, folks. That's coming. We'll drop that episode on Valentine's Day on that Friday. So look for that.
Well, what are you looking forward to?
Well, for sure, Mickey 17. That comes out
Yep,
in like a month or something like that. 2, 3 weeks or something. I
March,
don't remember.
something like that.
That's Robert Pattinson and the guy who did Parasite, which Parasite
As
was very
well
good,
as
and Snowpiercer.
yep, that's what it is.
What else? I mean, yeah, I'm excited for Mission Impossible. I think it's going to be fun. I don't. I'm not. I'm starting to get burnt out. I will say it. I'm starting to get burnt out.
Well, they either need to kill off Tom Cruise or they need to take a break for like
Well, that's why this is called the
5
Final
years or
Reckoning. I'm
something.
like, okay, either yeah,
But is
maybe
it
this
though?
is. They do. I mean, the movies do very well.
Oh yeah. I mean, they're some of the better action movies
They
ever,
are.
but
They
you
are.
know,
I'm also like I've again I think I'm gonna beat this into the ground or beat this to death, whatever the right phrase is. The Formula One movie by the guy who just did Oblivion. I'm very
yep, yep,
excited.
yep. Oh no, that's fine. That's fine.
Other than that, is there anything else you can think of that's even coming out that's jumping out?
Well, as I've mentioned the past couple episodes, I have my tickets for Paddington.
Oh, geez.
So I'm looking forward to that.
You're
I've
not.
now seen
Did
the
you not buy
fan.
tickets to The Monkey?
Actually, me and Dad might go watch that.
Are you
So
serious?
yes, it looks like fun, and I like Osgood Perkins as a director.
Well,
So
I like the main. I've always been a big fan of the main guy actor in that, but
you're welcome to
just
join us. It might be fun.
oh boy. Okay, all right. You guys have
It might be
fun. You
fun.
guys
It
have
might be
fun.
fun.
Sorry,
So yes, so Paddington, the monkey. Have you watched the trailer for Fantastic Four?
I watched it.
Do we want to give our brief thoughts about it? Because I kind
Sure,
of want to.
sure. I am tentatively excited. Tentatively, I will
I'm
say
kind of fucking hype. I'll be honest,
I like that they're keep. I like the time period they chose for this.
because that's the only way it works.
True. I will say I don't love. Uh, I don't know if I like Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm yet. I don't know.
I
She's
do.
no. I if you I like her A as an actor and B just she's a stunning woman.
She's
But
gorgeous.
yes, I understand. I'm thinking of the character.
Well, to be
Granted,
fair,
we've
we haven't
seen
seen a whole lot of her. I mean, it's a teaser trailer. We don't see a whole lot of any of them.
sure, but like on the flip side of that, I think I will always have a special place for Michael Chiklis as the Thing and how they made him. But the Thing looks pretty good.
I cannot stop thinking about how perfect they got him to look. Like you can bring up stills from the thing
Yeah,
in the
no, it
in the
looks
new
good.
trailer, and you put it next to the Alex Ross paintings, and
Yeah,
it's like a one to one. I'm
yeah.
so happy. He looks perfect. I'm so fucking jazzed for that.
But the trade off is I'm also pretty burnt out. Just I don't. It's just they did the thing. We did the thing, guys. We did all the movies. We did the team up. We did it.
They do need to do something different in this one because we've now had arguably 20 years of trying to make Fantastic Four movies. Some of them being successful, some of them not.
Well, I saw a thing where I
Because the
think
first one came out in 2005.
yeah, first one was 2005. The next one was 2015. The next one will be 2025. So
Yeah,
this is
so
every decade. There's a new version.
they do need to find a way to reinvent the wheel successfully because I still really enjoy those ones from '05 and '08. Like I fully understand that there is a great many flaws with both of those films, but
But
as
what I will
like
say for those
the
films,
early introduction to the superhero genre. That
sure.
those are great.
Well, dude, I think of the Silver Surfer in that movie was
Uh,
fucking awesome. Like
the
the
Silver
voice, the
Surfer.
look, the was awesome. It was
Oh,
super cool.
like that is the level of perfect that I think the Thing looks like in this one. Like those are comic accurate to a point where I didn't think they would do it. Like
Hmm. No,
those
it
look great.
super cool. Um, yeah. So I would say again, I'm tentatively excited. Like
I'm pretty excited. I'll be honest, but I'm always ready at this point for Marvel to disappoint me.
what also dropped, I believe it was either today or yesterday, was the Jurassic
I don't
World Rebirth.
know.
Like I watched the trailer,
I
and
think it's too soon.
A, it's too soon. B, I like Scarlett Johansson, and the main guy is from, I think he
Yeah,
did Wicked,
he did. I mean, I
but
think they're both fine. I don't know if we need to do this again.
we
Like,
don't. And I get like they're almost retconning, like, oh, this is a whole separate island where it's only the dangerous dinosaurs were put here. I'm like, okay, up the
I
stakes a
think
little, but like, I just,
I think what this
yeah,
one needs to do is it needs to make the dinosaurs scary again because I have very strong memories of watching like the first one when I was a kid and having and being very scared of the
sure,
velociraptors.
yes.
This needs to do that
Yeah,
for a
the
new
last several
generation.
movies did not
And
have
the
that.
last three, regardless of the quality they might have been, they weren't that.
No, they weren't.
I still kind of enjoy the first Chris Pratt one, even though it is just a retreading of the first Jurassic Park.
Mm-hmm.
The other two are not great, but this one needs to try something new. Like you can't just do a paint by numbers Jurassic Park movie.
Agreed. I think that's more or less everything that either trailers have dropped or things are coming out that I can think of. So
Very
we've
true. Very
done
true.
what we watched or what we're going to watch. We've done icebreaker audio. We've done general discussion on Oblivion. We did some fast film facts for you. Uh,
Next week we have a technically a kind of a double episode coming out. We're doing February 14th. We're doing our Valentine's Day special, and that's going to be Pride and Prejudice and Harry Met Sally. But also our normal episode schedule, we're going to be releasing the colossal epic from last year, Oppenheimer.
and if you're wanting to watch along with us or to like watch and then listen to our discussion, I believe Oppenheimer right now, it was on Peacock, but I believe now it's just on Amazon Prime. So I'd say check that out. And if you're wanting to watch either When Harry Met Sally or Pride and Prejudice, I don't know if either
Um,
of them are available to stream for free.
Pride and Prejudice, I believe, is streaming on Netflix, although I
Nah,
quite
I don't
enjoy
think
it,
it is.
so I own a copy. I'm not sure where Harry Met Sally is
When
streaming.
Harry Met Sally was on HBO Max, but it is not anymore. So
The
yeah,
generalized rule is if you're not sure, you can always pay Amazon to watch it.
which as much as I don't want to like encourage Daddy Bezos, you know, $3 or whatever, eh, you have to think about what
Yeah,
your money is worth. But either way, that's what's coming. This has been, what did we say, Hayden? Episode
this is
34?
episode 34.
34 of the Movie Bros podcast. This has been Duncan. He's Hayden. Thanks for listening. And we'll see you all next week.